All right. Welcome, everybody. Another episode of Legend Sports and Amplify, and we are talking baseball history, Negro League history, collecting card art, minor leagues, whatever your passion is for baseball and baseball history. And today I am really excited to have on Rap Dixon connoisseur, baseball fan, APA playing Ted Knorr. How are you, man?
Doing pretty good.
All right. I've got your PowerPoint up right now. I want to just flip it over to you for just a minute, just so we can just talk here for a minute. I think it's going to be, this is timely. It's great to have you on here. We're going to talk Rap Dixon. I put out on Twitter something new every day that I can, a tidbit about the Negro Leagues. I've done several on Rap Dixon. I am definitely in your camp with the fact that I think Rap Dixon deserves to be in the Baseball Hall of Fame. And we're going to talk about that, and you're gonna run through all things Rap Dixon with us today, right?
That's what I'm going to try to do.
All right, man. So one of the things I talked to Professor Brunson back in I guess it was March, and one of the things he mentioned to me was origin story. Is one of the things that I love to hear how people got into what it is that they're doing. And I've had many authors, researchers, artists, collectors on. There's something in your past that gets you interested in this. And so tell us a little bit about you. You've got a great history. I know you're a SABR researcher, and you mentioned about the Malloy Conference. Tell us a little bit about you.
Okay. Well, I come into the world on St. Patrick's Day, 1951.
Wow.
And my earliest baseball memory would be I'm a product of a Brooklyn, New York father and a Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania mother.
Nice.
And my mother was an O'Neill, so St. Patty's Day was a great day to have a kid. Mm-hmm. And but my first baseball memory would be Christmas 1955, when my grandmother from Queens gave me a Brooklyn Dodger jersey.
Nice.
I have no memory of the jersey other than that fact, but that's what started me off on a baseball research career.
Cool.
The next event probably was 1959, and you'll like this, Phil, because you're a baseball simulator yourself, yep. Even if it is drat.
Yeah.
But in 59, I ran into, and I'm sure you did, Catico Ellis Spinner Baseball.
I have seen it. Yes, I absolutely.
Sure.
Yeah.
It's where most of it started.
Yep.
So, and from there, the next big event for me, other than the 1960 World Series, which was a good time. I wasn't in Pittsburgh. I was living in Lancaster, PA.
Quite an event. Yep.
But Lancaster is where APA.
That's right.
Yes, that's where it was birthed in a manner of speaking. That's a whole other story. But I knew Mr. Seitz very well, and I was introduced to the game by one of my neighbors named Martha Levis. So she became the second woman, my grandmother being first, to influence me. And she was probably the second best player on our block at 10-year-olds. But her femininity showed through, because she made the fellas, which all her baseball friends were fellas, she made us wash our hands before handling the APA cards.
Wash your hands? Oh, yes. My God, that's so funny.
Yes. And she also charged us. She wasn't stupid. She charged us Topps cards, 3 or 4 cards, in order to play. Yeah.
Nice.
So I've been playing APA ever since.
Wow, that is cool. That is very, very cool. I'm a Stratomatic guy since about the mid-'70s when I was in, but I did play APA. I mentioned to you, I have a couple of, I remember, I think the first, when was Jim Bibby on the Indians? It must have been like 74,
70-something, yeah.
Yeah, that was my first APA set that I had. Because I had Jim Bibby on my draft team. We used to just draft the teams and have our own little leagues
Sure.
with guys, and that was always the fun part of it. And oh boy, how many times I went to Catholic school my whole life, right? And how many times the nuns would confiscate our APA and Stratomatic cards because we'd be in the back of the class like rolling dice.
Yep.
They thought we were gambling.
Yeah.
But so go ahead, tell us a little bit more. You got one more little story, right?
I had the same experience with the nuns, but
nuns, yeah.
I can see on my chart here, I left out another woman, another very important woman, my Aunt Mary Kay. She took me to my first game at Forbes, June 14th, 1961.
Wow.
So Pirates won 5-4, bottom of the ninth inning, a 2-run Wally. Clemente homered,
Wow.
Mazeroski erred, and Dick Stewart tripled. So you don't see that combination too
You
often.
remember all that stuff. Yeah, Dick Stewart was not the fleetest of foot, right? To get it.
No.
Yeah, that's for sure. I had a great conversation with Danny Torres, Talking 21, about Roberto Clemente. And do you know Professor Rob Ruck at the University of Pittsburgh? Boy, oh boy, the stories that he told us about Pittsburgh history, man, that was just fantastic. So I love doing these. I mentioned to you, I think that we wouldn't be talking Rap Dixon today maybe if many of the people like yourself and Phil Dixon, Bob Kendrick, on and on, Rob Ruck, James Brunson, didn't keep these stories alive all these years. And now the research that's going into it, more is coming out. I just think it's great, and it's well past due. I'm just glad, though. And so anything I can do to try to get some of these stories in front of people, that's what I'm trying to do here. So I'm going to go ahead and put up your... You're going to walk us through all things Rap Dixon, which is very, very cool. You put together a little PowerPoint here to make the case. So let's make the case for Rap Dixon, right?
Okay. Well, let's get him born. He's born in 1902 in Kingston, Georgia, and they'll definitely be watching, if they're not watching live, down in Kingston. There's a women's history club down there that's devoted to the history of this little town. But
wow.
In 2021, that means they're big Rap Dixon fans.
Absolutely.
And Rap came north in 1915 as part of a million family movement known as the Great Migration, bringing African Americans out of the South to the North and the West. Mm-hmm. In 1916, at the age of 13, he is on a men's team, which, if you have any familiarity with Steelton, they take their sports very serious. Anybody on that team had to be able to play the game. He doesn't appear in a box score until 3 years later, and he finally matriculates to the Harrisburg Giants, which were the best amateur team in the area, semi-pro. He moves there in 1922. Then he goes on. I'm sorry.
I'm a Pennsylvania. I was born and bred in Pennsylvania, Northeast PA, up in Scranton. So I am always keen on hearing stories about Pennsylvania sports history, and this is a good one.
This is a great one.
Yep.
So at this point, Rap goes on a 14-year major league career. We're going to skip that and finish his life and then revisit his baseball. He's back in Harrisburg, back in Steelton, where he was raised, at the age of 35. And that's really key to his story. You have to understand that this man, with an athlete's body and disposition and skills, was actually suffering throughout his life from heart disease, at one point consumption, the name is tuberculosis.
Yeah.
Even at 19, he missed a full month of baseball due to a disease I can't put my finger on yet, but I do know he was out for 30 days, not for an injury, but for an illness.
Wow.
So this man finally wore his body out and was back in Harrisburg in 1938. He dies 6 years later in Detroit, Michigan. So now let's fill in the blank there, and I'm going to make the case, I hope.
What makes a Hall of Fame player? Yep.
That he should be in the Hall.
Yep.
And we're going to look at three specific items, mostly the last one, but statistics, unless you're Mazeroski or Ozzie Smith or Brooks Robinson, or dare I even say Ray Dandridge, you better have some pretty strong offensive statistics to be considered, and Rap does. And then the opinions of your fellow players, I think that's also important. And last, just like, and you relate to this, Phil, like a Catholic saint candidate needs miracles, a ball player must have some legends. So we're going to look at Rap's statistics, and I'm going to look at them through the eyes of a baseball scout. The 5 pools that we hear about, so many players have them. I'm here to tell you that there is no Negro League Hall of Famer presently that had all 5, and I'll show you that. But Rap hits for power. I mean, he hits. There's his slash line, 325, 406, 538, and a 944 OPS. There is no Negro League player with as many at-bats as Rap, and that's one of his weak points. He's only up 2,548 times. But there's nobody with that many at-bats or more with a higher slugging, a higher OPS, or a higher OPS plus that's not in the Hall of Fame. So, yes, he could hit. Could he hit with power? He averaged 21 homers for every 162 games. Nobody exceeds that that's not in the Hall from the Negro Leagues. Could he run? Well, Seamheads credits him with 37 steals per 162. There are a few with more, of course. But he's the only player that's a 20-20 man. 20 homers, it's actually 21, and 37 steals. There's no other 20-20 player with as many at-bats that's not in the Hall. Awesome. Charleston, Stearns, they're in the Hall. So those are the offensive numbers. And virtually all Negro League outfielders in the Hall, there's only 7, have very good offensive numbers. But here comes the separators. Could he catch? Well, Rap Dixon played all 3 outfield positions, as did all the current Hall of Fame outfielders from the Negro Leagues. But he's the only one, and I don't mean to limit it to the Hall of Famers. I looked at 850 Seamheads Negro League outfielders.
Wow.
There's only one better than average in fielding percentage, range factor, and runs saved by arm in all 3 positions. If you picture a 3x3 matrix, only one guy checks all the blocks, and that's Rap Dixon. He could catch. And could he throw? No reason to dwell on this too much. There is no outfielder in the database who saved more runs with his arm, according to the Seamheads statistic. And I just want to point out here, there is no outfielder of those 7 currently in the Hall that has a better than average arm, according to the Seamheads number.
Interesting. Awesome. Good stuff, man. Let me ask you this real quick before you move on from the stats. Part of the whole Negro League mystique, aura, whatever you want to call it, mythology, a lot of it revolves around the fact that they did a lot of barnstorming. And obviously, we've had this discussion so many times. I'm sure you've had it 1,000 times. These guys were not playing in the Negro Leagues because they weren't good enough to play in Major League Baseball. They were not allowed to play in Major League Baseball. So that's one thing. But they also made a lot of money barnstorming. So how much of Rap Dixon's career did he do much barnstorming? Did he
Sure.
And so those statistics that you have are just strictly what's been compiled from
Yes.
through Seamheads and everybody else. So what were his numbers? Do you know what his numbers might have been like in some of his barnstorming?
Well, a very good point there, and that's another reason why the numbers are depressed from a counting stat perspective. Everything I gave you was versus Negro League opponents.
Okay.
The Harrisburg Giants, where he begins, probably played at least 150 games a year.
Mm-hmm.
60 to 70 might have been league games. Those others.
Somebody said to me, how can these guys only played 60, 70 games a year? I said, whoa, whoa, whoa. They were probably playing more like 200.
Yes.
So league games, yes, but you count everything that they were doing and the travel involved and the grind and the wear and the tear, they were playing much, much more than league games, yeah. I'm sorry. So go ahead.
And Phil Dixon and I sort of disagree because we both appreciate all the stats.
Mm-hmm.
And it's important for all the stats to be known. However, the stats for Dixon and for really all of them, unless you're reading Phil's excellent research, don't address the barnstorming unless it was against major league equivalent teams. And one of the reasons for that is that's where you find on Josh Gibson's Hall of Fame plaque, for crying out loud,
800
almost 800 homers.
Right.
If they put the same number up for Ruth, Bill Jenkinson has documented over 1,000 homers for Ruth. But that confuses the issue. I really like what Seamheads does. They're focused, and they talk about major league equivalent, and they're very comparable.
Mm-hmm. Is there how many games did he play against barnstorming, Rap Dixon, against major league competition?
Oh, okay. Well, there are some compilations, and I don't really have them in the top of my head, and they're not in the Seamheads data. Seamheads has one game, and I think he was 2 for 4 or 3 for 4. His OPS plus is through the roof for that one game. Mm-hmm. That was in 1930 with Charleston on the Chicago American Giants. Mm-hmm. But I'd say Rap probably played 30 or so. He did hit in no matter where you look, whether it's Hallway or the Center for Negro League Baseball Research, which do compile that kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. He hit about the same, maybe a little better against the major leaguers, but we don't know what pitchers he was facing. I don't lean much on that to champion Rap. I lean, what did he do against the major leagues now between 1920 and 1948 in the Negro Leagues?
Okay.
The chart I have now, because I do have to admit, everything we just talked about, those 5 tools, that each one has a paramount stat. Each one, he went somewhere that no one else did who's not in the Hall. Mm-hmm. But those are rate stats. And it's fair to say, well, what about his lifetime home runs, for example? He only has 77 in the Negro Leagues, but that is in the top 10. Mm-hmm. That was one of his strong suits. But what we're looking at here does take into account the longevity of his career. WAR is a hybrid between a rate stat, which it is on a year-by-year basis, but it's also a counting stat when you look at it via career. McNair has close to 20 years, where Dixon only has 14 in the majors. So his WAR number is going to be smaller than Hurley McNair. However, it's larger than every other outfielder not in the Hall. What you see there are the 5 highest WAR totals for Negro League outfielders not in the Hall. Mm-hmm. And I want to direct you to the next column. That is more beneficial to Rap, because now we're in a pure rate stat.
Per 162.
This is his career WAR per 162 games, and he's number 1.
That's a stout number, 5.7, if people aren't familiar with it.
And that is a stout number.
Yeah.
Yep, for a career average over 14 years.
Just so people who may not understand what that is, and you've summarized what it is beautifully, as far as how it tries to kind of incorporate a player's value, and it's a combination of a counting stat and a rate stat. But the WAR per 162, if you're about a 3 WAR, you're like an all-star, right? Isn't
Yep.
that kind of so?
That's right.
When you start getting into the 5 and 6 range, you are in the top
A Hall of Famer.
echelon. Yeah, you are. You are. Yeah, anybody, and you get above that, you're legendary. So yes,
Yep.
so that 5.7 number is pretty solid. Yeah.
Yes. Okay, so that's all I'm going to say on stats.
Hmm.
But now let's see what his fellow outfielders thought about Rap. Beginning with the Hall of Fame. Where does the Hall of Fame rank Rap right now? Well, on the left, 7 outfielders are in the Hall. I'm going to read them. Monty Irvin went in first. Cool Papa Bell second. Oscar Charleston, the first dead outfielder, and that carries a lot of meaning. Irvin and Bell went in ahead of Charleston not because they were better, but because they were alive.
Uh-huh. Interesting.
And then you have Stearns, and then Pete Hill, Cristobal Torriente, and Willard Brown. Those 7, logically, are the 7 greatest Negro League outfielders in the opinion of the Hall. The next 5 on the ballot were on the ballot in 2006. And I don't try to break that tie. They're all number 8. Rap Dixon, Roy Parnell, Alejandro Holmes, Fats Jenkins, and the great Spotswood Poles.
Those are 5 solid players right there. Let me tell you.
5,
Yeah.
yes. And maybe it's a good time to interject. Since Jackie crossed the line, 24 outfielders have began Hall of Fame careers. Of those 24, 18 would not have been permitted to play prior.
Mm-hmm.
So 75% of the Hall of Fame outfielders debuting under integration are Negro Leaguers, or such that they would have had to been.
That point that you said, that's a great point. I try to bring this up with people. When you look at what happens once the color barrier comes down and Jackie Robinson comes in, for the next 12 to 15 years, how many rookies of the year, Cy Young Award winners, MVPs, All-Stars, you name it, came that were former Negro League players. Yep. I mean, it's just dozens of them. I put something up the other day on Twitter of the 11 years between 19 or 12 years between 1949 or 50 and 1960. 9 or 10 of the National League MVPs all were former Negro League players. So these guys didn't just spring out of the earth. They were there. They had the talent. And like you just pointed out, I mean, look at the guys. If that color barrier did not come down, boy, oh boy, what would not have been part of Major League Baseball would have been astounding. Yep, for sure.
And the companion number to the 75%, that's a fact. 18 of 24. There's only 7 you see here from the Negro Leagues in the Hall. Mm-hmm. There are 41 white Major League outfielders in the Hall that debuted before April 1547. So one thing's for sure, we need to put, in order for the Hall of Fame to fulfill its 501c3 educational responsibilities, they need more Negro League outfielders in the Hall.
They sure do. Well, you got 5 good ones listed right there, so I'm with you.
I agree. I agree. Okay, let's look at the first 3. What did Monty Irvin think? What did Cool Papa Bell think? And most importantly, what did Charlie think? Mm-hmm. Irvin's 1996 autobiography with James Riley, he lists every position in order of who he thought were the best. And in the outfield, he names Oscar Charleston, Cool Papa Bell, and the, at the time, soon-to-be Hall of Famer Turkey Stearns. He then lists his good friend and Wild Bill Wright before getting number 5 to Rap Dixon. So Monty is saying, in effect, if I may interpret, Rap Dixon is a Hall of Famer because the Hall of Fame has defined Hall of Famer as the 7 best Negro League outfielders. Monty's saying Rap is 5th best. Cool Papa Bell, in a 1994 book by Nick Gusasella and Donald Dewey, he lists his all-time team. And in the outfield, he has Turkey Stearns, he has Monty Irvin, and then he puts Rap Dixon. He also has
no,
Charleston.
No Charles. Yeah, where did he have Charleston? I was just going to ask.
First base. He picked Charleston over Buck Leonard. Yes.
Interesting.
So, yes, good. You're awake.
Yeah.
But nonetheless, he's saying Dixon is the third or fourth, depending if you want to count Charleston as an outfielder. Cool Papa Bell is saying Dixon is a Hall of Famer. But most important is Oscar Charleston, because Charleston's opinion comes well before there is a Hall of Fame that's open to all. It's in an interview in 1949. So he's not influenced by the guys that are in the Hall. He says his all-time outfield in left is Martin Dihigo.
Wow.
In right, Cristobal Torriente. And important, hear this, in center, his old position, he puts Rap Dixon.
Interesting.
So he's making a couple points there, again, if I may interpret, because I'll interpret this all day long. Dihigo and Torriente are Afro-Cuban. He is saying, now this isn't what he meant in 49, but it's undeniable, Rap Dixon is the greatest African-American outfielder Oscar Charleston ever saw. So,
interesting. All these guys were very modest and didn't name themselves, I see.
That's right. That's exactly right.
Interesting.
You're right.
That's interesting that Rap Dixon is the one that he named out of all the people he could have chosen. Yeah, that's a great point to make, that he, in 1949, this was well before any thoughts of Hall of Fame was even on anybody's radar. So, yeah, that carries some weight for sure.
I think so. And coming from Oscar Charleston, who, if I may digress, in 1924, when he comes to Harrisburg, he's coming there because Colonel Struthers was going to pay him well. They were the highest paid team in blackball just 3 years later. He's coming there because his wife was from Harrisburg. But he wouldn't be coming there, taking his first managerial position, if he wasn't confident in the team and in particular the outfield. And let's just skip ahead. This outfield in Harrisburg in 1924 is the greatest ever in any era or league. Now, I'm not going to try to prove that in this presentation, but I will point out, let's go back here. Of the 12 outfielders that the Hall lists, not me, the Hall, there's only one outfield of any real duration that has 3. Left fielder is Fats Jenkins. He's on the ballot. Right fielder is Rap Dixon. He's on the ballot. And the center fielder is the manager. So clearly this is the greatest team in Negro League history. And they're intact for 4 years.
Wow.
So it's a spectacular outfield. 1927, Rap goes to Japan. And there, the 5 tools that I mentioned earlier, he has them all on display. I had this cartoon translated, and what it says, Rap Dixon pitches balls over the outfield wall. He stood on home plate and threw the ball over the outfield fence, in some cases measured as far as 400 feet. Now, I can't stand behind the veracity, but he really impressed the Japanese fans. By the way, he was on a team with Biz Mackey and Andy Cooper, 2 Hall of Famers. And they only lost, depending on your point of view, 1 game in Japan. And even that one, because of Rap's speed, he was on third base when he scored what would have been the tying run in the 9th inning, but was disallowed by the umpire because the base runner on first base was caught for the 3rd out of the inning. It was a sacrifice fly. And even the Japanese team knew that Dixon had scored well before that 27th out. So the team he was on, they did not protest. And that's one of the greatest things about that tour. Ruth and Gehrig in 34, they rubbed scores in. They played the outfield with a parasol out. One game, Gehrig played the outfield and Ruth played first. I mean, they, in a manner of speaking, made fun of the caliber of play they were facing.
Mm-hmm.
This black team in 1927, there's a book by Kaz Sayama, who gave me this cartoon, and by Bill Staples, who got it translated into English, called Gentle Black Giants. You really need one or two of those people on your show.
Absolutely. That would be really, really fun to have on. Uh-huh.
One of the most exciting parts of the tour is perhaps apocryphal. I'm not here to bull crap anybody, but supposedly Emperor Hirohito gave Rap Dixon, because of his home runs, because of his speed around the bases, because of his arm, a Loving Cup trophy. And of course, I can prove it. Here it is. There's a picture. but I also have two.
Who did that drawing?
That's a woman who I did a book for kids, and this is from it. And I'm sorry, I'm not remembering her name, but there's an activity book for kids that I'm very proud of. And we did it probably around 2010 or 2011, and it has statistics from the Hall of Fame's research between 2001 and 2006. But I just got to clarify this event. There is a picture of the trophy with the team, so the trophy may have been given to the team, not to Rap. And also in the book, Gentle Black Giants, it does talk about the team going to the emperor's mansion, which was off limits. I mean, Hirohito wasn't just the emperor. He was a god. This is a different culture and different beliefs. But Hirohito took the time to invite this team of foreigners to his palace.
Wow.
And about the trophy, just two more comments. A friend of mine, Rap's great niece, India Garnett, she tells me she saw that trophy in the family growing up.
No
now, yes.
kidding.
And a rival story to that, a guy named Syke Burnett, who played under Rap in the 40s as a youth, he said he saw a trophy that Rap told him Hirohito gave him. It wasn't the Loving Cup. It was a statue encrusted in jewelry of a baseball player. Now, that trophy has never been seen, but Syke around 1940 tells me he saw it.
Whatever happened to this cup? I love these kinds of stories. I think these are just so much fun. I don't want to get off on too much of a tangent here, but do you have any idea whatever happened to this?
Well, all I can tell you is what India was Paul Dixon's granddaughter. Paul is Rap's brother. Paul also was a major leaguer in the 20s. He was in the Negro Leagues, had maybe a 10-year career, but he wasn't the hitter Rap was. But India says it just disappeared from the family 40 or 50 years ago.
Wow. I wonder where it is.
Oh, don't we all? And or the jewelry encrusted baseball player.
In some storage shed somewhere. It'll show up on Pawn Stars someday, right?
1929, and this is something that I am waiting on.
I put something out on Twitter on August 10th about this. Yes.
Cool.
Yeah.
You probably put it on July 29th, because that was the date of the second weekend of this streak. July 29th, 1929. What he did, he cracked 14 straight hits in league games. And of those 14 straight hits, 8 were off all-star caliber or better. If you look at Pinky Higgins or Walt Dropo with their 12, they weren't facing the type of pitching that Dixon was. Dixon got 3 hits off Smokey Joe Williams.
Wow.
3 hits off Sam Streeter and 2 off Phil Cockrell. But right now, Major League Baseball and Seam Heads and the Elias Sports Bureau are looking closely at it, and I am praying that they certify this as a new Major League record. So we'll see.
It's any way you look at it, 14 straight hits in any league is pretty darn good. Yeah,
and it's well chronicled in the black press in 1929. And speaking of that streak, let's see how it compares to other major league records. Joe DiMaggio's 56-game hitting streak has been around for 80 years.
Mm-hmm.
We haven't had a 400 hitter for 80 years since Teddy Ballgame.
Mm-hmm.
Cal Ripken, he's held the consecutive game record for 26 years after Lou Gehrig held it for 62.
Mm-hmm.
But Rap Dixon, he will have held, assuming Major League Baseball gets this right,
wow,
he will have held the record for consecutive hits for 92 years.
Wow.
Yep.
That's impressive.
Yep. Walt Dropo and Pinky Higgins have 12. I think Bernie Williams might have got up to 10 or 11. There's a Dodger that got up to about that level a few years ago. His name escapes me. But Johnny Pesky, I think, got to 10 or 11. But 14, no one's come close since 1929.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, here's a good one. 1923, I think. The Yankee Stadium opens and Babe Ruth hits the first homer, and we call it the house that Ruth built. July 5th, 1930, Rap Dixon hits the first home run by an African American, and now I call it the house that Dixon rehabbed. And he hit 3 that day, by the way.
Wow.
It was a doubleheader.
Who was it? Who were they playing?
They were playing the New York Lincoln Giants, and the starting pitcher is escaping me now. But I can tell you one thing. Chino Smith was on the Lincoln Giants, and him and Dixon were the 2 best hitters in the American Negro League that year. Chino had 2 homers that day, and he was thrown out trying to get his 3rd. He tripled but was out at home. So that was one of the greatest hitting duels ever put on
No doubt.
in that first game in Yankee Stadium.
No doubt.
1932, Charleston, and this is another thing that Charleston does to tip his cap to Rap. You know, in 1949, he calls him the greatest center fielder or the greatest African-American outfielder he ever saw. But in 24, he came to Harrisburg in part because of his respect for Rap. In 32, the last piece to the Pittsburgh Crawford puzzle, in February or so, he already had, let's see who's in this picture. This is Judd Wilson on the far right, Hall of Famer. Judy Johnson right next to him, Hall of Famer. We're moving left to right here. The great Josh Gibson, Hall of Famer. And then the manager with his leg on the seat, that's Charleston. These are 5 Hall of Famers in the picture.
Should be 5.
Rap Dixon. Rap Dixon is in between Charleston and Gibson. He's the one that needs to go in. But the 32 Crawfords were the first of 5 straight spectacular Pittsburgh Crawford teams.
Wow.
Okay, this is another fun one. The fans elected Rap to the East-West game. That's the first Negro League All-Star game in Comiskey Park. Just the same year, just a month or so after the first Major League All-Star game. Well, Dixon doesn't homer, but he does go 2 for 6 in the 33 and 34. He scores the first East run, steals the first base.
Wow.
And this picture is from the Courier. This is him batting in 33. The picture appears in 34. But let's have some fun. This beautiful oil painting
look at that.
commemorates that swing. Now, I don't know what he did. This could be one of his hits. This could be a sacrifice fly. This could be a foul ball. I don't know. But that's Rap at the plate. That's the great Larry Brown behind the plate. And that's a white umpire named Bill Costello on the very first Negro League All-Star game. One more thing. Now, I don't think you can see my pointer. Can you see my pointer?
I can, yeah.
Oh, good. That's me. The artist, I asked the artist, and I'm wearing the jersey. I'm wearing a Harrisburg Giant jersey right now.
No kidding.
If you look real close, you can see there's a Harrisburg Giant jersey in that dugout. He put me in. I appreciate that. Andrew Brown is his name. He's a Brit, but he's doing one.
I have seen his work. He is
Yes.
he does a lot of
Yep.
ballpark art. Yeah.
He does a lot of
I
ballparks.
will.
So,
I would love to
yep,
talk to him about this. That's for sure.
I'll hook you up.
Absolutely, that would be awesome. So that
Yep.
is you in the dugout. That is
Yes.
awesome.
And
Oh my God, that's cool.
not just me, the woman I'm next to is Rap Dixon's wife.
No kidding. Boy, I'll
He
tell you
was
what.
married twice.
Those are some nice touches, man.
Yes, yes.
Very fun.
Thank you, Andrew.
Very fun.
Okay. The following year, and this is the end of the Dixon as a superstar story. And mind you, he's only 31 years old.
Mm-hmm.
This is the end of the 33-34 winter. Rap led the Puerto Rican League in steals, and Josh Gibson, whom you see right here
Mm-hmm.
on the far right back row, he led the league in homers. They traveled together. Concordia was a great team out of Venezuela. I don't think either one of them set foot in Venezuela. But let's just take a look at some more players. The tallest guy in the back row is Martin Diego. This is a great team. So you have two Hall of Famers so far. This guy here is not a Hall of Famer. Maybe he should. He never came north. This is well documented. He is a Venezuelan. His name is Louis Aparicio.
No
the father of
kidding.
the Hall of Famer.
Wow.
So in the middle, where you would think they'd put the star, I mean, he's not in the back row or the front row. He's the only person in the middle row is Rap Dixon. Unfortunately, and we do have his stats. Let me see if I can find him. According to the Center for Negro League Baseball Research, he hit 381 for this team, and he had an OPS right around 1.
Wow.
But here's the but. Sliding into second base, definitely during that winter, and I assume if he hit 381, it was after his playing here. He might have been damaged goods when this picture was taken. That might be why he's in all by himself there. He hurt his back terrible, and really his all-star caliber playing was over.
You know what else I love about this picture? It gives perspective because, if Josh Gibson was 6'2", 6'3", I didn't realize Martin Diego was that tall.
Yes.
Wow, he
right.
was tall. I mean, he's looking like he's well over. He's 6 foot, definitely north of 6 feet tall for sure. Very cool.
Yep. Okay. Now, the 1934 season, he was elected to the All-Star game, and he does get a hit, but highly ineffective as a player. You can check the stats. They weren't much to speak of. He was a fan favorite, which is why he made the All-Star game. However, he still got a legend for 34. He was the first professional manager for this young man. And I met Leon Day in 1992 at the Pratt Library. And, of course, I wanted to talk about Rap. And we did. We did. However, he had nothing to say about Rap as a player because this year he saw Rap not as a player but as a father figure. Leon's father entrusted him to Rap Dixon and made that clear. And according to Leon told me that Rap couldn't have did a better job. He was the right man for the job, and that he owes a lot as for his career to Rap Dixon.
Awesome.
Now I lied a little bit when I said Rap's superstar days were done. In 1935, he's with Brooklyn Eagles playing for EFA, and they pull some molars out of his mouth, and lo and behold, they were just like his back. They were holding him back for a couple years, and he played a little better. He ends up with the New York Cubans that year, and the Cubans, they have a losing record in the first half of the season, which is won by the Crawfords. But in the second half, with Rap starring, they win the second half title, forcing a playoff for the Negro League National League title. And here's what the 5 Hall of Famers do in that 7-game series. The slash lines speak for themselves. Rap dominated. He played Charleston, Gibson, Bell, and Johnson on the Crawfords, and his teammate Martin Diego and manager also didn't fare as well as Rap. Rap would have won the Corvette that year, except for he go through some gopher balls to Charleston and Gibson late in the series. The Cubans had a 3-1 lead, and they lose 4-3.
Wow.
Okay, 2 years later, now we're into the legendary. I hate to say mythical because I don't know, but I do know this. In 1937, Gibson, although he's not on this, well, he is on this team. Gibson, Page, Cool Papa Bell, they all leave the Crawfords and go to play for the president of the Dominican Trio, yeah. And under those circumstances, you better win. And I'm not going to dwell on some of them aspects. But when they came back to this country, every Negro League player on that team, with the exception of Gibson, was suspended because Gibson had the approval, supposedly, of composing. But Page and Bell and a few other players, the manager didn't come north with the team. Now, the Center for Negro League Baseball Research, the director, Dr. Leighton Ravel, tells me he saw the application to play in the Denver Post tournament, and it was signed by the team's manager, Rap Dixon.
Wow.
Now, George Scales and Cool Papa Bell also managed that team as they barnstormed across the country trying to make a living while they're suspended. But here's two other factors that make me believe that Dixon was there and was the manager in Denver. One of them is John Hallway and Cool tell a story about Bell sliding into third base, spikes high, and causing a ruckus. He was pulled out of that fight by Rap Dixon. Now, this is Bell's words as chronicled by Hallway. Dixon in 1937, I think he had one hit all year. He was done as a player. He was playing for the Crawfords, mostly probably helping coach. So if he's in Denver in the third base coach's box, I think he was there as a manager. Mm-hmm. And the other thing that makes me think that, you find him in box scores. In the championship game, he starts the game like only a manager could. He's yanked after an inning. He's just getting his share of glory. And then I think he made an out, and then they win. So that's another feather in Rap's cap. Someone's going to have to prove to me that he didn't manage that team. Mm-hmm. 1942, and we're almost done here. 42, Rap manages a Harrisburg Giant team no longer in the league, but they had 4 white players. And wow. And Rap was very vociferous in the paper about integration. He knew it was coming, and he championed it, and he proved it by bringing his Harrisburg Giant team to play Hilldale.
And this was 1942. Wow.
1942. Okay. I do want to say one more thing, because in 43, Rap was the business manager of the Harrisburg Stars. Now, that was a team that had been in New Orleans and had now come back to Harrisburg to play under the name St. Louis/Harrisburg Stars. Mm-hmm. I don't think Rap had much to do with personnel issues or what, but he was in the administrative offices. And this is the first time Harrisburg has been in the major leagues in 16 years. Mm-hmm. But what does that administration, including Rap, do? They leave the Negro National League and tour the country playing Honus Wagner's team and with Dizzy Dean to sell war bonds. So this is one last legend of Rap, that he had registered for the draft in 42, and he was doing what he could. So he took his team out of the major leagues to sell war bonds.
Nice. Wow. I'll tell you what, man, that is from start to finish, that, you just walked us through a great story. I mean, these are why I've been trying to have these kinds of conversations, because it puts context to all this. I had someone say to me, and this is just, these kind of things make my head explode, but they said, well, well, Josh Gibson, he didn't really have that many home runs. He was doing it against, inferior competition. But when you look at even the Negro League statistics, he only played 10 years, and his career was over by the time he was 46. And I said, wait a minute, the man died. I mean, do you not even know the story of Josh Gibson? I mean, it wasn't like he was a washed-up ball player and his career was over. No. And so what you related with the story of Rap Dixon and what he went through health-wise, it also plays into why some of these guys may have had maybe not quite the counting numbers that people are looking for, and you've got to put all that into context. Context is important, and it matters in the Negro Leagues. It absolutely does. So, so you got some artwork you wanted to walk us through. So this is some cool stuff.
But I'd be remiss, since I've been working with the Josh Gibson Foundation this year to try to get that MVP trophy named in his honor. I just want to point out Gibson. He is second only to Ruth during the segregated era for home runs per 100 plate appearances. And simultaneously, he's second only to Ty Cobb in batting average if the Seamhead stats hold up.
And see, that's another context thing, right? Because the Negro Leagues were only playing sometimes at most 60, 70 league games, and that was even rare. So you start getting into career totals, you're never going to see those numbers with the Negro Leagues because they just didn't play that as many league games and with the barnstorming and everything else. So, like I said, context in this, it really is important, and people need to understand everything about this story. And I'm hoping that more and more people, who might have had their doubts. I don't know how many of these people are going to be able to win. Some of them have their opinions because we know the reasons why. But hopefully they start to understand and get on board with this, because it is something that was long overdue, and now we need to kind of keep filling people in, and it's important. So you got some great, some of the artwork, I was looking through your PowerPoint when you sent it. This is some really awesome stuff. Beautiful. Who did this one?
Okay, this is by an Exton, Pennsylvania artist, African-American artist named Dane Tillman. And what makes this interesting, he took my black and white team photos. You'll notice different years, different styles here. And he made one team picture of the Harrisburg Giants that captures the history. This is Rap. This is Rap. It's a 1924 jersey taken from a well-known photograph of the team. This is this is Fats Jenkins, a 1925 jersey. This is, cool. I say Spotswood Poles. It might not be, but it is from his time, 1906. This is the owner, done in lavender. It's beautiful. He was 6 foot 300 pounds, and he taught ballroom dancing. And he also was a policeman. And his bankroll in 1927, according to the Harrisburg paper, the Harrisburg Giants were the highest paid team in black baseball.
Awesome. Cool. I'm gonna have Daryl. Daryl Matthews. Have you seen his work?
Yes.
The artist.
Yes.
I'm gonna have him on in a couple of weeks as well to talk about his father's career in the Negro Leagues and his artwork. So that's gonna be a lot of fun as well.
It will be.
Yeah, I love seeing artwork. My dad did painting. He did a lot of he did some portraits, but he did a lot of outdoor work, and I like to draw a little bit too. I could never do some of this work like this. So, portraits and things I would stay away from. I could draw a tree or a beach or something like that, but I'm going to stay away from drawing a portrait. Now, this is the picture you talked about before we got on. That's behind you. Look at this thing. This should be like in the Louvre. Look at that is beautiful.
Yes, this picture was done by Phil Dewey. I believe he's from Grand Rapids. He's definitely from the Detroit area. And he's a cabinet maker by trade. And you can see that reflected in this beautiful frame. And the other thing about it is he actually changed the name. This is Rap Dixon, probably on the Philadelphia Royal Giants in 28, but wearing Hilldale uniforms. And it said Hilldale Giants in the photograph. And Phil was nice enough, at my request,
Change it to
to
Harrisburg.
change Hilldale to Harrisburg. And what I like best about this, you can see this picture over my right shoulder.
Yeah, we're gonna put you when you're done here. We'll put you back on. People could see it. Yeah.
A friend of mine gave me this picture last December. I didn't ask any questions. I'm eternally grateful. He thought that if anyone should have this picture, it should be me.
Boy,
and I'm glad he felt that way.
It's spectacular. I mean, that frame looks like it should be hanging in some medieval mansion in like in the Middle Ages. I mean, it's beautiful.
Yep, it spent the last year in a museum in Harrisburg.
I could see that. Yeah.
Yeah. This is a wonderful likeness done by Dr. Charles Crutchfield, and this is Rap Dixon with a smiling Visions. I really like it.
Very nice.
Now this is one thing I'm glad I didn't. I'm sorry I didn't mention this, but the Negro League Centennial Team announced in December of, I think it was 2018. It might have been 2019, but I think it was 3 years ago now. Mm-hmm. 32 people on the team, only 4 of which are not in the Hall. Mm-hmm. So the 4 that are on the Centennial Team, picked by one of the largest panels of voters of any of the teams that have ever been picked, there are 4 non-Hall of Fame players. I'm going to name them. Their manager, Buck O'Neill, the pitcher John Donaldson, and the great pitcher Cannonball Dick Redding. Mm-hmm. There's only one position player on that team that's not in the Hall. You're looking at him. This is Rap Dixon. Great climber.
Hard to believe that the 4 names you just named are not in the Hall of Fame.
Oh, yes, you're right.
Yeah. I mean, come on.
Yep. Here's the bobblehead that also goes along with that Centennial Team.
Nice.
Yep.
Cool. I got to get me one of those. I like bobbleheads.
Yes, you do.
I do.
You got to get yourself 32 of them.
Right?
Yep. This is Rap. This is probably in the Philadelphia.
Wait, do you have 32 Rap Dixon bobbleheads?
Oh, no. I have about 3. Okay. No, but there's 32 players on the Centennial team, and each one has a bobblehead.
Oh, wow. Okay, yeah, I will definitely check into that. And maybe over time, I would love to do that. I love bobbleheads. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. This is Rap on the Philadelphia Royal Giants, probably around 1928. That's the team that went to Japan.
Okay.
I don't know where Rap is here. I've seen it labeled as Hilldale, and maybe it is, but this is a picture of Rap batting. This is the same Hilldale from the photograph that Kreindler kept as Hilldale and that Dewey changed. This is Margie Lawrence from Chicago. She does great work, but she wouldn't change Hilldale. Okay, now I'm stuck. I got to remember I have to name this guy. This is from a recent book, and boy, it's called 24 In, or it's about.
Boy, that's interesting.
Steve Greens. Steve Greens wrote the book.
Oh boy.
And this beautiful artwork. It's by Scott Headley. And the cards are available through Helmar Brewing Company. I don't own that card. But if you haven't had Stephen Greens on yet, he'd be a great guest.
Absolutely.
His book is about 24 players that should be in the Hall from the Negro Leagues.
Cool.
And Rap's one of them, not as high as he should be, but still one of them. Mm-hmm. Okay, this is Rap's grave, and he shares it with his grandfather, who was born into slavery. So this is a very poignant place. Mm-hmm. It's in a cemetery called Midland Cemetery, and his sister Pauline is also there, and then there's Rap.
Wow.
This is a marker we put on his grave. Now we put this marker on, I want to say 2006. A lot of things have changed. I have him labeled as a 5-time All-Star. It turns out he was an All-Star 8 or 9 times, 8 or 9 different years, if you search hard enough for Rollo Wilson or Composey or John Hallway or Seamheads naming a team. He was only a two-time East-West player. The 315 average now is 325 by seam heads, and I buy that. Although I love Baseball Reference, and that's a whole other story, using seam head stats, but restricting themselves to the major league so far announced period of major league status. In other words, they don't count the independent teams. So his Crawford stats, some of his Black Sox stats are not counted. But the stats they do count, he hits 337 in Baseball Reference. So I kind of like
better.
that.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
He's even better, yeah.
This is the event when we mark that grave.
Wow.
And these two guys here are local heroes from the 1954 Harrisburg Giants, left-hander Willie Fordham and center fielder Jim Whedon. But I want to direct your attention over here. This is Kurt Moten, who played for the Baltimore Orioles in the 70s.
Recognize
Not
the
in
name,
the picture. Not in the pictures. Paul Blair came up. So Paul and Kurt came up because Rap played for the Baltimore Black Sox. So in order to honor that history, the Orioles sent Blair and Moten. It was a great day.
That is cool.
Okay, this is the campaign button for Rap.
Nice.
And this is my final slide. It's where we're heading.
Heading to Cooperstown. That's right. I hope so. So I'm going to put you back on. That was fantastic, sir. I appreciate all the work and talking through that, and so much great context. Fantastic.
Thank you.
I appreciate it. Hats off to you, man. That was good stuff. Do you have what's your thoughts on how this is going to play out? We talked a little bit about it. They're supposed to make the announcement in December, is that right? Or before then?
The first announcement you should hear in September will be, they'll tell you who the 16-person panel is that's going to make the decision.
Okay.
You're going to need 12 votes. And they'll also tell you the 10-player ballot, which is going to include major leaguers from the 19th century, major leaguers from the first half of the 20th century, and Negro leaguers. It's only going to have 3, at the most 5. I expect 3 Negro League players on the ballot.
Mm-hmm. Boy, oh boy. I would assume, right, Buck O'Neil would be one.
I think he's gonna make it, no doubt about it.
Who else you think? You think Rap's going to get on
there?
Well,
I don't think Rap would be one of the 3 to 5. In fact, here's my favorites. Gus Greenlee, although he has to overcome some of his associations, he did not make the final ballot in 06. John Beckwith, Dick Redding, Dick Lundy.
Boy, oh boy.
And then if they do 5, there's a chance for Rap. There's a chance. George Scales jumps out at me. There's no second baseman from the Negro Leagues right now in the Hall.
That's hard to believe.
Hard to believe.
When you think of Newt Allen and
players
like, boy, oh boy.
Bingo DeMoss, Sammy Hughes.
Yeah, boy, oh boy.
Yep.
Boy, oh boy. I tell you what, there is several dozen guys who should be in there for sure. And maybe, hopefully, in the near future, we can get some of those wrongs righted down in those lines as well. But
two problems I do want to point out. The voters, the 16 people who are going to look at 10 candidates, all of which are worthy, only can vote for 4 of them.
Boy, oh boy.
That's the rule. So, and then make it even worse, they're not going to convene again until 2030. This has to change.
Oh, come on. Yeah, that's another decade almost. What's that? That's crazy. So what do you know what's the threshold there? Do they have to get 70%, 80,
75, and I'm all for that. Mm-hmm. But in 2006, there were 39 on the ballot. All was segregated. They were all Negro leaguers. Right now, these people who were segregated during their life are being punished by integration on this ballot.
Isn't that ironic, right?
Yes.
Yeah, explain that one. Why did there used to be a Negro League special committee, and that is how the last group got in 2006. What happened after that?
Okay.
Why did
well,
they?
the original committee, of course, existed between 71 and 77, and that was a uh, qualified panel of Negro League experts in the truest sense, including Monty Irvin, who was the chairman. When they finished with 9 inductees, they declared their job over. It was a mistake. That following that, the Veterans Committee did elect 2 over the next 15 years or so before the Hall edicted that they put 1 in every year for a 5-year period, which was extended by 2 years. So that's how the first 18 got in. Mm-hmm. And then, as you refer, they put a new panel together, qualified people, and they put 17 more in. So here's what this means, Phil. Of the 35 players and personages in the Hall as Negro Leaguers, every single one, with the possible exception of those 2, Rube Foster and Ray Dandridge, went in under extreme affirmative action. Mm-hmm. And that's what's missing right now. They're treating the Negro Leaguers like they were in the major leagues in the 30s and 40s, which, right, in a manner of speaking, that's great. But let's not forget that they were not in when they were eligible and qualified and deserving.
There's some lost time to be made up for here. Yeah, absolutely. Well, boy, oh boy, I tell you. Hopefully, we'll see. So we'll know soon. So it's coming up. You said in September. So, are they going to make an announcement? Is there going to be something? Okay.
Typically, they announce in September the ballot and the committee's names. And the committee, there'll be 16 people. 8 of them are going to be Hall of Famers. What do they know about 19th century baseball or the Negro Leaguers? Mm-hmm. And then there'll be 4 writer types and 4 executive types. Mm-hmm. Hopefully Claire Smith, the Hall of Fame reporter, mm-hmm. she's a Sphinx Award winner. Hopefully she will be able to retain her spot on that committee.
Can people lobby for anybody? Can
I think so, and I hope people get encouraged by this appearance and your show.
Well, we'll have to find out how we can do that. We can get a little proactive here and see if we can get some of these guys aware. Is there a list somewhere of the people of the people that are on the?
Well, you can find, and I will send you the previous era committee. I think then it was called, and I love the name. Now, it took some criticism. They called it the pre-integration era, mm-hmm. and that name is okay. It's better than the early baseball committee, which is what it is now. What it should have been is the segregated era.
Right.
Let's, call it what it was. Yeah. But yes, I will send you a list of the 12 that were on it 5 years ago or whenever they last met.
We'll see if we can get a little momentum going of people on Twitter, social media, whatever. We can lobby for some of these guys to get them some due. Because like I said, I had no idea. I mean, I do, but the fact that Cannonball Redding is not in there, several of these other names, it's just hard to believe. I mean, these guys are legends. I mean, it is hard to believe that they're not. So we need to make sure.
And Buck O'Neill and Minnie Minoso were alive in 2006.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's hard to believe but so many things. I mean, I guess you can only expect the wheels of progress to grind, so fast. So here we are. Ted, this was fantastic. I really appreciate your time.
Thank you.
All the information. I will make sure that this gets out to as many people as I can get it to, and definitely send me anybody you think that would have an inkling to want to come on and talk like this. I think these are great conversations to have, and I love getting people's ideas and thoughts and their work out to as many people as I can help with. So again, this was great. I appreciate it. You working on anything before you go? You working on anything now that you're keep on going with the there's that picture behind you. You wanted to.
Yes.
There's the real picture behind you. Yeah. Boy, oh boy. Good stuff, man. That artwork, I would love to get Andy Brown on here too to talk about his. But
Yep.
he actually did that painting and put you in it. That's just blows
Yes.
me. That just blows me away.
I helped him last September
Awesome.
with a panel.
Awesome. Good stuff, man. Thank you so much. I appreciate
All
it.
right.
You take
Thank
care.
you, Phil.
You take care. I'll be in touch with you again soon.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye bye.